This week on the Weekly Read.
Now, you guys might not know this about me, but when I went to Westchester, I minored in African American Studies. So I'm so hyped for today's show because my guest Basqi is coming to talk about Black pride, Black history, Black art, why it's important, and so many things like that. Now, usually when I have guests on my show, I'm typically a bystander just like you guys because they're teaching me and teaching you. But this week I'll be able to give a little more input, seeing as how I know more about the topic. That being said, it is my pleasure to welcome my next guest, Basqi. So thank you so much for being on my show.
Indeed, no problem.
Can you just introduce yourself and tell everybody why you're here?
I'm Basqi, and I'm here to talk about Black pride and kick these good vibes.
Okay, so what made you choose that topic?
Very passionate about it. I'm really into the Black history and stuff. I've been educating myself since outside of school. So ever since I started educating myself, I've learned a lot.
All right, so Basqi. Hair.
Indeed.
Did they have anything to do with each other?
Actually, no.
Oh, wow.
Because like my hair was growing like this anyway. I came up with Basqi because I like his whole way he carried his life and all that. He had left home early and really thought for himself and really carried his career based on how he wanted to do things and wasn't really constructed in the whole society thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so with that, I took on the Basqi, and I didn't want to be Basquiat because it's already Basquiat. And my hair was growing like this anyway. So
it just kind of worked
people
out
correlated that, and it's like, I thought it was dope, but like my hair was already doing its own thing.
Right. So when you talk about Black pride, some people have a negative idea of what that means. What is Black pride to you?
Black pride to me is like, I don't know, Black love, like confidence in it. It doesn't have to be negative. Like people think Black pride is like anti-white. And like that's not the case at all. But because the way they project it and like I said, the history that comes along with it, you may think it's a racist thing, but I don't feel like you should really dwell on the racism of it. You should be dwelling on like being prideful in who you are as a person. And if you're Black, I mean, you should be proud of that.
Right, and I think people get threatened by that, especially people of other races, because we're not supposed to be proud of who we are. We're not supposed to be proud of who we are.
I was about to say, right.
Yeah, but I definitely think that that's an issue that, you know, especially like the white community has, and that just dates all the way back to the Black Panther movement and the Civil Rights movement, and you know. Like
it's funny, I was talking about today on I got this little Bascology thing I'll be kicking my like education on my Instagram, and I was speaking about today about how we were brought here as slaves and we weren't allowed to read. Like they would kill us and like chop off our tongues and all this crazy stuff just because of reading. Okay, and then they end slavery, and in the midst of our slavery, they started their own public system. They already had public schools before they even stopped our slavery, or the case may be. Slavery ends, and then it wasn't until 1960 you had Ruby Bridges who was allowed to integrate in the schools and all that. So that was just 60 years ago.
Right.
Truancy now. Like they're sending kids to jail for not going to school, and y'all just started letting us go to school.
Right.
Y'all didn't even want us to educate ourselves, so don't act like y'all care now.
Right.
In a sense, you know what I mean? So it's like, it doesn't make sense. They contradict the morals of how history went. You can't kick how it's morally right. We need to go to school now. We all morally never wanted us to educate ourselves. So. And
you know what I think a lot of people don't notice is how close 1960 really is.
Exactly.
Yeah, people
are still
alive.
Yeah.
Ruby Bridges herself is still alive.
Yes. Yeah. So people don't understand how that wasn't that long ago. They kick this word history, and people think it's so far back because we're learning it in school. It's so far back, and it's like, no, it just happened. Like nothing really changed. So
in terms of school, since we're talking about school right now, you mentioned before that you went outside to learn more about Black history. Can you speak a little bit more on that, and then I'll give my little tidbit after that.
Because with school, it's like it's been Europeanized in a sense. So all of our, like even with religion, our textbooks and our religion all come from the Vatican. The Vatican. Like that's a specific perspective. You know what I'm saying? It's not. They may bring sources, but it's all getting edited all in one place. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't make sense for all of our education to come out of one source when it's different perspectives all around the world. You know what I mean? So I'm all for. It's a whole lot that they miss and they don't enlighten in history in our textbooks. They try to specify certain parts and certain errors, and it's like so much. So who are you to say this was important and this wasn't? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, like you were from the suburbs, right? You grew up. Yeah. More or less. Yeah.
Right.
So I also grew up in the suburbs, predominantly white suburb, and yeah. Oh, duh.
Right.
But I meant like elementary school.
Indeed.
And I feel like we're taught that racism. At least then we were taught that racism was a thing, but it was like more so a thing of the past. And I remember, you know, when Trayvon Martin passed away, I feel like for me and a lot of other people, that's when we realized like, yo, this shit is like still real.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so that's why I decided that I wanted to pursue African American studies, and then I winded up minoring in it in college.
Right.
And I just learned so much that I wouldn't have known before. So I think it's important that we are educating ourselves, not just us, but people of other races too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're not so biased when you're dealing with these other cultures and stuff like that, because you got TV and you got what we learn in school, so it's like I said, this perspective's pushed onto it. You're not thinking for yourself in a sense, you know what I'm saying? So when you educate yourself, exactly. So when you educate yourself and you can find your own perspectives on what's happening, then you can draw better conclusions than just assuming this is how this went and this is how that went and this person's like this and this person's like that. You know what I'm saying? Because everyone's different, individualism.
Right. So in this political climate, how do you feel about relations with white people?
Personally, people they think with this whole like black pride, it's like white people are devils and I hate white people and all that. And it's like, it's not the case. It's like, it's only racist white people. So if you're not racist, you should never feel offended when you're describing a white person that has done some racist or hateful things. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you shouldn't, I'm not talking about you, how do you feel some type of way about it? You know what I mean?
Right.
So with the racial climate, I feel like black people need to be like less ignorant towards how you take them in. You know what I'm saying? Like, stop being so vulnerable in a sense. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I don't want to be too like radical in a sense. You know what I mean?
Oh no, please go there.
But like, if they're out here like stabbing us and they're like calling the cops, they're like messing with us. And the whole Black Lives Matter whole thing is like, we're protesting.
Right.
We're protesting and we're protesting. If they're being the aggressors, what are we, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're aggressive and we're like defensive, but we're trying to be offensive with our reasoning. It doesn't make sense. Right. You know what I mean? They're conflicting. So I think we should take a different approach rather than just screaming and complaining in the marches and all that. I feel like I was talking about this concept with my homie. It was like, there's nothing after these marches. Like, everybody in all these different cities, it's like you get in these marches and everybody's screaming, everybody's yelling, and it's all this, and then everybody go home. And it's like, what was the result? But awareness, as if we're not aware these things are wrong.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I feel like there was like a petition or something that came out of these rallies and protests. We could be getting somewhere instead of just us gathering and screaming.
And you know, at first I didn't necessarily understand that. And it took me a while, but it wasn't until, I think it was a rally I went to summer 2017.
Right.
And black people, of course, were, you know, posting it everywhere, be here, we're gonna be here. And then I went and it was majority white faces.
Exactly.
And obviously still nothing has changed.
Exactly.
So then it becomes you begin to ask, like, so what is the point and what are we doing?
Black people have this false narrative. It's like, with this whole, the protesting is the way to go because it worked back in the day. Like, people don't break down, exactly. They don't break down the bus boycott instance. Like, they protest and white people didn't care that we weren't riding the bus. It was economically.
Yeah,
we were drawing economically.
Yeah.
It was hurting the economy. They didn't care about our transportation.
Right.
So black people might look at the bus boycott as like, yeah, we gathered, there was unity, and like, yeah, we all stopped riding the buses. Like, they didn't care about us riding the bus. It was the economy. So when you focus on the economy infrastructure, like, what can you do to tear that down if that's all they want to care about? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think where we lack at is looking at the bigger picture.
Exactly.
I think that we look at the specifics, and like you said, you know, this is what was done, but like, obviously, again, we're in a different time.
Exactly.
And that just brings my next question to you, which is like, how do you feel about how black businesses work? Because the only way that I feel that we could really rise up in that way at this point is if we get our own.
Exactly.
And it seems that when we do try to get our own, either the black community isn't supporting those businesses or the black company itself isn't upholding its, you know, standards. So.
Exactly. With the black business, it's like, I'm all for everybody should, not black people, for us to grow economically, we do need black businesses to flourish and all that. But it's
Black Wall Street.
Exactly. And the fact that it has actually happened before, I don't understand why it hasn't since.
And you want to know what's sad is I didn't even know that there was a Black Wall Street until I started minoring in African American
See,
studies.
that's crazy. And they don't never speak about the Tulsa bombing and all that. They bombed the whole, it's crazy. But it's like, you hear all this like black business and like start your own black business, but you never hear like what black businesses are hiring and stuff like that. So
that's so true.
We have to circulate it. Right. You can't just, if everybody's starting their own business, where is the money going?
Yeah. And I think too, we have a hard time. We say that we want it, but I think that we want it in theory, but we don't really
good.
want it.
They just sound good. People just sound good. They're not dedicated. They sound good, and they're like It's easy just to protest. Right. It's easy just to scream. It's easy just to gather and walk and scream.
Get a shirt.
Exactly. That's easy, but that's not doing anything. And they know that it's not doing anything. So as long as we just doing that, it's like, all right, whatever, you nothing to worry about. They just scream. And it's so funny because in a sense you got the LA riots.
Right.
We got real mad and they started drawing
Which
LA.
Is also very recent.
Exactly. And it's like people are. The results of the LA riots, in the midst of the LA riots, the government was telling the military, they sent the military there, they called the military off. Police, they was telling the police not to come in and save the people. The ambulances were told not to come because they was, black people were drawing, like black people was sad. So, and it's, what our anger can do, like at a certain level of rage, there's nothing they can do with it. So what is everybody so afraid of? Right. You know what I'm saying? So if we really want it, act like we want it. Right. You know what I'm saying? Everybody talk this tough talk and it's like, everybody's so tough, but like when it comes to the opposing side, like corrupt police and all this, everybody gonna stand back and everybody's so quiet. Like I'm sick of everybody videotaping this stuff that's going wrong. Everything's going wrong, and then everybody's videotaping, and it's like for what?
Yeah, and
nothing comes from that videotaping but going viral.
And
everybody just wants to go viral.
Right, and I also saw somewhere recently that said we need to stop giving these people these cute names like permit. What is it? Permit Patty and stuff like that.
They're making it a trend. Everything's trendy.
Trendy and it's cute. And I think now people are starting to, maybe not, I may be wrong, but I think people are doing it to purposely.
They want the recognition. They want now. They might get 500 jobbers if they're not going to get it. They're not financially. They're not really worried about the finances. They're not like, oh, I lost my job, but they're good.
Right.
They'll get a new one.
Yeah.
You're just making them famous. Exactly. You're just making them famous for what?
Yeah.
For what? If you're not going to do something about, like, I don't understand, like, why are you, the lady following you, and like, I don't want to promote violence and all that, but like, what if somebody gonna keep I'm not getting nothing out of videotaping people. You're gonna keep messing with me, I'm gonna do something and I'm gonna leave. I'm not gonna stay there. I have nothing to prove. So it's stand up for yourself and defend yourself. Like I understand like the whole like being passive and all that, but in a sense, everybody is so passive and so standoffish because of Martin Luther King, and I'm not knocking his hustle, but they didn't mess with it. They had to infiltrate the Black Panther Party and had to infiltrate. They just had to kill Martin Luther King and then everything fizzled out. They had to infiltrate the Black Panther Party.
The two together.
You know what I'm saying? We learn about Martin Luther King. We learn about we don't learn about Malcolm X.
And that's also on purpose as well.
It's mental. They want to keep us passive. So you're gonna learn about the passive guy and he did the right thing. You know what I learned that's so funny to me? Martin Luther King got his whole like movement from Gandhi, right? If you look up in history, it says Gandhi was a racist.
Yeah, he was.
He didn't like
he was a racist.
He didn't like the darker skin. So it's like I just was thinking with that. It's like they promote at the Martin Luther King Museum in Washington. They don't have a statue of Martin Luther King at his own museum. They have a statue of Gandhi. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
What does Gandhi have to do with, like, I understand, like, that's where but shouldn't Martin Luther King have his own statue in front of his own museum?
That's not miles, away.
It doesn't make sense to me. And they have the wrong artifacts. It was like, did you know that the United States was tried and convicted as a conspiracy for killing Martin Luther King Jr.? So, did you know the artifact that they said, the gun that they said was used to kill Martin Luther King was the incorrect gun? They have the wrong gun in the museum, and it's documented that that's the wrong gun, but they still let it be in the museum, and they just tell people boom, boom, boom. And it's just instilling this wrong history in our head, and we just going along with the flow. So we don't look into it ourselves. How we gonna know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people don't know that so there's a lot of people that don't know that the government was convicted of a conspiracy of killing Martin Luther King Jr.
Because they don't tell you that stuff.
Exactly. They don't tell you that.
Yeah.
People not just screaming that for no reason. Like, government did it. It was they assassinated Martin Luther King. It's like, well, this is a conspiracy. They don't really know. No, it's documented.
Yeah.
It's documented.
Well, you want to know what else I didn't know until I started, minoring in African American studies. In fact, I didn't know this till about 2 years ago. I didn't know that Malcolm X wasn't a Black Panther.
Yeah, that's crazy. How they just correlate the. No, he wasn't. Exactly. That's so funny.
I had no idea.
Did you know that the whole scenery of the Malcolm X assassination was faulty? Did you know that the government had came in and rented out the place a week or a month prior to when Malcolm X was taking his speech? They knew he was going to take his speech because obviously they was the FBI was investigating him. They went in and they did some construction. So it was like a board up there. So if you look at read the autopsy of Malcolm X, they say they seen the guy, they throw the bomb, the smoke comes up and the guys run up and they shoot him.
Mm-hmm.
The autopsy has bullets shooting down. Mm-hmm. If they shot him in the front, how are the bullets shooting down through his... Wow. That's crazy. But they don't know that. This isn't like public knowledge. Like you gotta look into this stuff.
Well, like Tupac said, the government is the biggest gang.
That's right.
Yeah, but just to go back to because we got a little deep in.
Yeah, exactly.
But just to go back to the topic of Black pride and Black love, do you think that's something that Black people really value? We say, again, I think it's one of those things
that sounds good, but no.
Yeah.
Not, people aren't passionate about it. It looks good, but like if you look at it, it's like you see the memes on Instagram about Black love. They love it, but like Love and Hip Hop has the ratings, and all they do is fight and argue. Like we love controversy, so we can't proclaim to want and love Black unity, and then we uplift us fighting and stuff all the time. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense. It's contradicting itself. You know what I'm saying? People aren't as serious as they proclaim to be. If everybody's so African and everybody thinks of the kings and queens, when nobody's out here emulating kings and queens, everybody want to be so ratchet because they love the ratchet stuff. And it's like I'm all for the whole being yourself, but be yourself. Like Cardi B is herself.
Tiffany Haddish
it's herself. People are liking that because they're being ratchet. It's like if you're not ratchet, then you shouldn't have no.
Yeah, but with that too though, especially with Tiffany Haddish, I feel like she's not only really successful, but I feel like white America is capitalizing off of that because they know that that's what white people want to see. That's what white people think that we look like.
That's what they want to project.
Yeah.
So it's like of the Black entertainers, it's like who's a new Black female entertainer? Like Tiffany Haddish is the only one I can think of. Like.
Wow. Yeah.
Aside from music, everybody like music. We're gonna take music out. We talking about other stuff like
film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tiffany Haddish. It's all. I can't think of nobody else on top of my head. No. Now back in the day, you had your Queen Latifah and you had your Janet Jackson.
I was just looking at the catalogs of 90s Black cinema.
Mm-hmm.
First off, beautiful.
Exactly.
But where is that now?
And even in the comedy field, when you had like I was analyzing the comedy of today and back then, it's like back in the day, like Dale Hughley, Chris Rock, Richard Pryor, Bernie Mac, like they talked about the issues and they weren't afraid to talk about the issues and they spoke loudly and proudly about the issues in Black Pride. Not knocking Kevin Hart, he's hilarious, I watch him all the time, but like if you look at stand-up, he's not speaking about nothing political, nothing of social value for Black people. It's all about his life and how funny his upbringing was and all that, but it's like you're not tackling none of these issues, nobody's speaking about these issues, and then you got the only one I can think of that speaks about this stuff is Cat Williams, and he's considered crazy. Dave Chappelle too. I'm not, but I can't. People hopped on him late. I put him back there, but I just didn't name him. But he's back there too. But like, nobody's doing that no more.
And Cat Williams is obviously labeled crazy.
Exactly. So like, when he's the only one talking about it, but you don't really see his stuff. He doesn't get the platform for it. His platform isn't projected because it's all underground comedy. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to really voice Cat Williams out there like that.
Right. So I saw a tweet earlier that said that the word, I don't like using the word ghetto. I feel like it's very derogatory, but they talked about ghetto men and ghetto women specifically are the most free people. We talk about being carefree. Would you agree?
I don't like the word like you said, but like
I don't like it either.
In a sense, but yes, because they don't really worry about what
other people.
the person's gonna think. Like they're not at their job worrying about what their boss is gonna say. It's like they don't care about the job.
Right. Right.
And I can respect that.
Yeah.
Like I don't respect somebody that's like, you proclaim to be so tough and you so like this, that, and the other thing, but then you go to your job and you can be so.
Right.
And then you get outside the job and you want to do this and you want to be so extra, boom, boom. If you can control that in your job just because somebody's paying you, you can control that out here in the street. So
right.
I don't respect people that just
So you don't
put on
respect code switching?
Exactly. I don't like people switching up.
Okay.
Like, especially for the sake, don't sacrifice your, or compromise your integrity for some money.
Right.
I don't respect that at all.
Right.
I'm here all the time. I don't care how much money you present to me. I don't care the lack of money you present to me. I'm always going to be me.
Yeah.
That's why I can't do the 9 to 5. Sorry.
Yeah, neither can I.
Can't do it. Again, I'm not about to keep.
Yeah. So in terms of black liberation, do you feel like we're moving forward or we're moving backward or we're staying in the same spot?
We're stagnant.
Okay.
It's like people, it's a passion there, but it's not a real passion.
Mm-hmm.
Real passion
Just
was
like we
in the
talked about
80s and the
earlier.
90s. It was real passion. People was actually going forward and doing stuff and putting, making actions. And it's like, nowadays they're just talking. It's just awareness now. Everybody's, I don't get why people go on Fox is known to be a racist station, right? It's like people want to give it that label, they're racist. Why do black people keep going on Fox trying to prove what people are saying are racist? Like, what awareness are you bringing? Exactly. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't understand. And then we say they want to keep retweeting it, we want to keep reposting it. It's like, yeah, tell them. It's like, you sitting at home know exactly what, like, you could have did that.
Right.
Why are you praising them for doing? I'm sick of bringing up. Awareness it's been aware. It's aware. We're aware of the situation. We're aware of the problem. I'm sick of awareness. It's like
just
do
we're
something
talking in
about
circles at this point.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you feel about the amount of black movements going on right now?
I feel like it's too sporadic right now. Back in the day, there actually were leaders, like appointed leaders. You can actually look back in history and say this person did this person did that. For the Black Lives Matter, for instance, for example, like who is the leader of Black Lives Matter? Exactly, no one knows. So it's just people screaming it, and it's no conformity to it. You know what I'm saying?
And putting it on T-shirts
Exactly.
and selling the T-shirts and
It's just a
money
trend.
going.
It's just a movement in a sense. But if the movement's not accomplishing anything, I don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I personally think, even in my opinion, Farrakhan is the only leader that black people have right now. He's the only one trying to like bring everybody together. You got the T.I., but he's playing with it. It's not like
he is very.
He's iffy with it. You know what I'm saying? And then Kanye is speaking out what he's speaking out, but he's not a black leader. You know what I'm saying? And he's for everybody. He's not speaking about
for the people.
Exactly. He's not for black people, and black people need someone who's going to speak about us specifically, and not have to worry about like, oh, I don't want to say the wrong things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Farrakhan has no problem doing that, and he's willing to speak about it loudly and proudly, and I'm all for that. Now, I'm not pushing any religion on anybody, but as for a leader, I feel like Farrakhan is the only one.
Right. So, do you think that black people are free?
No, not at all.
Okay, and why is that?
Because we think in a box. We don't think outside of it. We're always worried about the police. We're always worried about the bills. We're always worried about our boss. It's just nobody has time to really think for themselves. It's like you're too controlled and too worried about too many things, and you're not loving yourself and thinking about things for yourself.
Yeah. And just just to go back to what we were talking about earlier, I definitely would agree with you, especially seeing this whole carefree black girl movement and carefree black boy movement, and I don't think that it's supported as much because it's crazy because we don't want people to put us in a box, but we do it to ourselves, and then we wonder why we can't rise up. And I think that's an issue. We have an issue in the community, but then we're pointing the finger at the white person. But it's like, well, what are we?
It's no self accountability
at all.
Everybody wants to blame, and it's like, I'm all about finesse. So you gotta maneuver. You gotta maneuver through it. Like, okay, yeah, we're oppressed, but that's not stop. We have plenty of successful black people. Through this oppression.
Yeah.
It can be done.
Like
you can get it done. Exactly. So I stop focusing on the oppression. Yeah, it exists, but it's not going anywhere. Yeah, stop focusing on the racism. It exists, but it's not going anywhere. So you got to maneuver around it.
Yeah. And I think that's something that people need to realize too, is that
Because I think people, everything.
and I think too, people think that there is going to be an end to racism, and then when they don't get that, or they don't feel like they're getting closer to that, then people give up. And I think that's part of the reason why we're at where we're at right now.
People.
But racism will never be completely
It's
eradicated.
not going anywhere, and then it's like racism is a mind state. It's mental. So until people change the way they think, racism is always going to exist, and people have to get over that.
Yeah, I definitely would agree. So, in terms of, and we talked about my cousin's show off air, but in terms of the gay community,
Right.
my issue, I think, is that Black people, and just speaking on, gay people specifically, the gay community,
Right.
we don't want people to oppress us, but then we turn around and oppress the gay community.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts?
Once again, contradicting.
Yeah.
It's like
Because we only care about issues that have to do with us.
Exactly, and to put in perspective, just like the border thing, all the kids and the immigration, it's like you see the people. Oh my gosh, it's so sad, but nobody cares.
What are you doing?
Nobody cares.
Mm-hmm.
But if they was doing that in Chicago, they was doing that in Philadelphia, people would be more passionate. If it was Black people down there, people would be more passionate because it's not Black people and it's like it doesn't really affect us. It's sad, but nobody cares.
I can't tell you
and
how
it's the
many.
same thing as with the gay community.
Yeah.
It's like but nobody cares. Same thing with Black people. Nobody cares. They say they do, but it doesn't. You don't. It's not shown.
And why do you think we're like that? Or people in general, because I don't think it's just a Black issue. I think
it's like historically, if you break it down, it's like one of the first Black slave. I think John Punch, I think his name was. He was the first Black slave ever for
I'm
like.
pretty sure that's his name.
He had enslaved. He enslaved the other Black slaves, and it's just a part of history.
Yep.
It's like he got to be free. I mean, he had an indentured slave that was a part of his slave. The Black man did it 7 years, and he was free. John Punch said, "No, you're not free." And you look at it, it's like, you Black. Like, I'm a slave. I just, like, what are you talking? He took him to court. The Black man took his slave to court, knowing he was wrong. He won his case, and he's not slave for life. And it's like, it's just the DNA is just trickle down in history. You just do each other dirty. We don't trust each other. It dates all the way back to the Africans sold Africans into slavery. We don't trust each other, so we always do each other dirty.
And do you think
we got to get over that?
Yeah.
Until we get over that, we're gonna keep biting each other back. That's how Philly is, like it is.
Yeah.
It's a crack in the barrel.
Yeah, and I think that's important too, because eventually I feel like we need to stop putting, generational issues and accepting that.
Exactly.
And moving in that way. I feel like eventually we need to stop making excuses, and do something different.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's really the end of my show. Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate
you were great. This was a great conversation. And again,
definitely need part 2.
Yes. So we can definitely schedule that sometime off air. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching my show again. I know you guys loved it. I loved it. I love Basqi. This was a great conversation. And we'll be back next week to talk about religion. So that should be another good show with my friend Juwan. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll be back next week. That's a wrap.